Charlotte, this is just an incredible role for you. It's fascinating, it's intense, it's a thrill ride through and through for you, certainly. Was there something about Mel that made you want to be a part of this film?
You know what? Actually, it was really working with Erlinger that really appealed to me. I'd seen his first film Rift, and I thought was completely exceptional. And then yeah, like the character of Mel was like there was so much in it, like especially like her relationship with her daughter Zoe. But I think like getting to kind of like play a character who is like has such a driving force throughout the film really appealed to me. Like she never gives up and she's constantly fighting, and those are always the roles that I'm kind of drawn to because I'm a, deeply determined tenacious person, sometimes to my detriment.
Erlinger, how involved were you then in the casting of this film? I think Julian Sands is such a standout as well as Charlotte, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I was very involved in the casting, and I remember like I had heard about Charlotte from one of the producers of the film, and even because she sent in a tape, but even before she sent in a tape, like I had this gut feeling, like because I'd watched some of her other work, and I had this gut feeling immediately, like, oh, she is Mel, like we need to get her. And then, she sent in her tape and it was amazing. And we had a meeting and, it was like during COVID time. So we were doing these kind of Zoom auditions, which is, auditions are always weird, but like doing them via Zoom is even weirder. And I remember just thinking the whole time, like, we don't really need to do this. Like I've already kind of made up my mind. This is just a formality. But she was, I mean, it was great. I mean, it's also just to get to know her, and I think we hit it off really well, even just from that first Zoom interaction, and we got her. She decided she wanted to do it, and we're all the luckier for it. So I'm very happy how it turned out for sure. And the same with Julian. I mean, I knew, I knew that I wanted Julian right away, and it was the same kind of deal where like, we had a Zoom meeting, and he already knew the script, and he really liked that. But I think for him, the most important thing was just to kind of feel like we were gonna go on this adventure together, and he wanted to have like a partner that he could trust in, and that he was gonna have a good time with. And I think we shared so many things in common, and I think we had a similar outlook on life, and I think it was the same thing. Like in that first meeting with him, you know, it was kind of meant to be, and it was great to get to work with him and have him on set, and yeah, it was wonderful.
Earlier, when it came to the music aspect of thing, how important was it for you to make sure Charlotte had like her fingering on the flute correctly, and even Julian making sure his conducting was somewhat accurate, if not completely?
I mean, yeah, it was definitely very important, and I'm pretty sure we discussed it in our first meeting, that Charlotte would have to kind of really you know go deep into the technicalities of playing, but she was so into it and she was so up for it, and she had a little bit of a background with the saxophone, or like not a little bit, she had a background with the saxophone. So and I
It was only
know, I mean,
your kind, Erlinger. I'm not. But they're the same
but I
beast
mean,
in
like,
they're in the same world, the flute and the saxophone. But I did learn the flute.
exactly, but I mean, she should talk about that also, because for me, it's very easy to be like, oh, you have to learn how to play the flute, but she's the one who actually has to do it. I can watch and be like, oh, this looks good, looks fine, but she's the one who actually has to pull it off, and I think she did fantastically.
That's my favorite bit about acting is that you just get to learn so many extra skills. Like I was doing an audition earlier today where I had to learn Farsi, and I was like, that's so cool that I get to speak Farsi. And like truthfully, I could probably speak Farsi at any point in my life. I could be like, I'm just going to learn Farsi, but you don't, unless someone gives you the reason, then I
Sure.
don't have a good motivation. So for me, it was just such a gift to get to go and like learn this new instrument, and like the flute is a beautiful beautiful instrument. So I think I still have my flute, so I should probably get it out and play it a bit more. It's she look those are my cellos over there, and the guitar. But
Wow.
yeah,
My goodness. Maybe you should have changed it to be cello or saxophone.
It had to be the flute. I
oh
got
yeah,
some
yeah.
pushback on that in the beginning, like, does it have to be the flute? But it's like, it's the
It's called the
piper. Like, it
Piper.
has to be
But
the
it's the
flute.
piper,
Yeah.
and also the sound from a flute is so much creepier. It's like it really had that kind of very haunting quality that perfect.
Yeah.
Charlotte, there's such a great chemistry between you and the little girl who plays your daughter in this film. Did you all spend much time to sort of flesh that out before filming?
Yes, but it was very easy because she is like one of the sweetest, funniest girls I know, and like we're still really close. I think and she's a phenomenal actress as well. Like I had such a good time with her and her mum as well, who was there, and the three of us just uh yeah, just we just laughed and laughed and giggled and chatted, and they never felt like we were having to create chemistry. It was kind of all completely there. So I was so I would do another film with her if she ever wanted to work with me again, like in an instant. I think she's completely awesome.
Charlotte, there's so many dark scenes to this film, though, as well. Was it difficult for you to slip in and out of character at the end of the day?
You know what? There are a lot of dark scenes, and the subject matter is heavy. But the thing about horror movies is that they're way less scary when you're on set than how they look. Like you always because you ultimately all like I remember even I did The Nun, and I was in like full like evil nun prosthetics, and yet like in between takes, I'm there like sipping out of a straw, just like chatting about what I did on my weekend. Like it's there's an element when you're on set where because you're all in it together that there's just such a camaraderie that it takes away the scariness of the subject matter. So in that sense, I guess it was yeah, it actually kind of was quite easy to slip in and out of it. But mostly just because it was the story itself was kind of so scary that if you spend too much time existing in that too much as a scary world, you'd start to lose your mind, I think.
Earlier, I think the most one of the most interesting scenes at the start of it, at least, is finding Catherine and she's somewhat burning this concerto, and she winds up burning herself at the same time. Talk about filming that particular scene.
Yeah, that was an intense day. I mean, it's anytime you work with fire in any capacity, it's always intense. And we had, for this particular scene, we had like a stunt person actually set on fire, which is the very first time I've ever done anything like that. And we, of course, we did it at the very end of the day. So, and it was a long day. We knew that that day was going to be longer than usual because we only had that location for a short amount of time. So we knew we were going to go a little over time. But so you kind of like from the very beginning of the day, you're going to end with a fire stunt. So it's just kind of it adds to the intensity of every moment. So by the time we finally got to it, like I was super stressed out. Just because how can you not be when somebody's like on fire in front of you? But thankfully we had like a super amazing stunt team, and they had done things like this before, and safety is always the number one, two, and three when it comes to things like this. So everything was very well organized and taken care of, and we only did it once. We had multiple cameras to kind of capture everything, but you don't want to really do a stunt like that a second time. Like that's just kind of inviting bad luck to the set. So yeah, it was intense, but it's when you have people that you trust working with you, that's a good feeling, and I knew that they were gonna pull it off in a great way, and they did. So yeah, but I don't, fire stunts. I don't know if I'm rushing to do more of them in the future.
Charlotte, as we touched on, there's some incredible scene work by you, and certainly the musical ones are exceptional as well, knowing you had to study and learn that craft as well. Are there particular scenes that you're sort of most proud of that you've worked on?
You know what? Probably the scenes between me and Ava, Zoe played my daughter. I think are some of the kind of the most touching scenes, just because they really, yeah, I just think that she's so brilliant, and like I I just loved acting with her, and those scenes really are the heart of the movie for me. So, even the scene where she's reading the story of the Pied Piper, there's like those kind of quiet scenes are always my like favorite ones, because it's when you see what it's like away from all of the scary stuff.
I don't know, what do you think it is about the Piper that's just going to make it a fast fan favorite horror film? I think it's got all of those classic elements that people love, certainly the intensity, the darkness, the thrill, the adrenaline rush. Is that what you think is going to make it such a quick, exceptionally standout horror film?
Yeah, I think, I mean, all of those elements, but I think, kind of going back to what Charlotte just said right now, I think the humanity and, and having, wonderful actors like Charlotte, like Ava, like Julian, that, ground everything and make the audience invested. Like that's what makes all of the other stuff work and makes everything else kind of pop. Because if you don't have that connection with the characters, then, everything might look cool and sound great, but, it's empty. So I think the humanity of the film, the performances, and then also we wanted to make it look and feel grand and kind of epic in its own way, and of course sound epic. So I think all those things work together and hopefully making it a film that people will not just enjoy but remember and revisit later on, because somebody told me after having seen it a few weeks ago that like it felt like a movie that they had watched on VHS when they were kids and were like excited to kind of see it again. And I feel like that's the kind of perfect mood, because I think that there is a little bit of a throwback quality to it, without being kind of arch about it, but it is like I wanted to make something that felt timeless and felt a little bit like a fairy tale on its own, and hopefully that's what people kind of get out of it.